So for most people, they use Steam. Steam is the platform of choice to buy PC games on, and it's the most popular. As we can see here in the digital distribution market share, Steam has around 75% market share, whereas platforms like GOG and Epic Games have around 8 to 10 or even 2 to 3%. And if we look at the Steam hardware survey, this was conducted in April of 2026. Most people, which is 67%, use Windows and 25% use Windows 10. So only 4.5% use Linux, and this actually dropped. It was around 5%, but it did drop by 0.5% recently. So, you know, a lot of people use Steam, most people use Windows, and so let's look at Heroic Games Launcher, which is an alternative to Steam. However, it only focuses on Epic Games, GOG and Amazon Prime games for the moment. So the platform of choice for me actually is GOG, and the reason for this is that GOG allows you to actually own your games, but I can talk about that in another video. But here with Heroic Games Launcher, as we can see, we can download it, and this is just some of the things that you can do with Heroic Launcher, but I'll dive into this a little bit deeper. There are other gaming applications such as Lutris, which is also open source. However, I prefer Heroic Games Launcher because it's much easier and it's much closer to Steam than anything else. So if you're running CachyOS, which I am, as you can see with this icon here, you can run this command over here, and you can do a pacman-s and install these two packages. If you want to fully include all of the gaming applications and any of their dependencies, then this is a fantastic way to just get everything done in one go. However, I prefer the Flatpak way of doing things, and so I install things like this. So if I type here, it gives me the reference for Heroic Games Launcher, and this is how I installed it. So once you've got it installed, you open it up, and obviously you won't have these are just the games that I have at the moment. But what you need to do is click on stores, and as you can see here, we're on Amazon Luna and you're not logged in. This is the message that you will get. So the first thing you need to do with your Epic Games or GOG account is you need to log in, and you need to log in for each of these accounts. Once you have done that, you can go back and you hit this icon over here, and you'll be able to see all of your games. Now, installing them and using them is basically just as it is with Steam. There's nothing really different here, but Heroic Games does offer some more customization. So let's take a look within one of the games. So if I right click here and I click settings, you can see straight away what Proton version I'm using. I'm actually using Proton CachyOS because it does come with some of the more latest updates in comparison to Proton from Valve itself. This is the wine prefix folder. This is basically where your saves will be stored and anything wine needs in order to run the game. And these are just some default settings with esync and fsync. Nowadays we have NTSync in the kernel if you're using CachyOS, for example, but I think it is already in the Fedora kernel, I'm not too sure. If we go to the other tab, we can see you have Mango HUD and Game Mode. You usually want to keep Game Mode selected, and you can install Mango HUD. Now if you did use this command and this one, you should have Mango HUD already enabled. If you don't, you can do the same thing by just clicking Flatpak install and then Mango HUD, and it should pop up. So if you write Flatpak install Mango HUD, you usually want to install the latest one. So I have 24.08 and 25.08 installed. Once you've got those two things installed in the Flatpak version and in the Flatpak version of Heroic, enabling Mango HUD should be that simple. There's nothing much really in the advanced tab that a beginner would typically use. However, when using OptiScaler or setting frame limits or things like that, this can come in handy. However, for this video, I'll just be focusing on the simplest way to get your games running in Heroic. Now, cloud save sync, this is extremely important obviously, because if you have saves already within the GOG cloud, for example, you obviously want to use them. The first thing you need to do before running the game is you need to download your saves. So what you need to do once your game is installed is head over to Cloud Save Sync tab here. Then you want to click download and you want to click sync. Now I've already done it, so I don't need to do it. And you want to check auto sync saves. When you do that, when you run the game, it should automatically detect that you have saves, and then it won't need to download them. I don't really use GameScope, so I'll just leave that. And there's nothing much in the legacy tab here. So that's basically it. Now if you want to run the game, you just click on the run icon here. That's it, and your game should launch. Now, a new feature that was introduced in Heroic is you're able to change the cover art of your game. So for example, if I click here and I click edit game and I go to the advanced tab here, I can see that it's using the Steam grid pictures. So if I click here, I click on Cyberpunk 2077, so I can choose within the app different kind of grid covers, which is amazing. But one thing that you will need is a Steam Grid API key. So what you need to do is you need to go to settings, then you go to advanced, and then you need to put your key in here. Now you need to first obtain an API key. So what you need to do is go to Steam Grid DB, click on the first link, and you need to log in with your Steam account. When you've logged in with your Steam account, you should be able to get a key within the settings. Once you've signed in, hover over your name and hit preferences. Once you're there, click on the API tab. Now I already have an API key, so I'm just getting revoke API key, but there should be something very clear here saying get an API key or something like that. Once you have the API key, make sure you copy it, head over to Heroic, go to settings, advanced, and then just paste it in there, and you're good to go. Other things you can do is you can change the settings of the actual app. So for example, I can change the theme. I can change where my games will be installed by default. So I've set it to an external drive. Now let's move on to downloading Proton. Proton is a compatibility layer which allows Windows games to run under Linux. Now, if a developer does not natively support Linux, meaning they didn't compile their game to run under Linux, then it's not going to work. So compatibility layers like Proton, which are built under Wine, allow games to run under Linux. This means that you can basically run any game that works under Windows under Linux, which is fantastic. However, there are some cons to it. For example, not every single game will run or run well, but there is a number of increasing games that are running on Linux, and I would say that if you take any single player game, it should just work. So Proton Up is an application which allows you to download different versions of Proton. Now there are a number of different versions of Proton. The main ones are directly from Valve, and another one is from CachyOS. I typically use CachyOS because it comes with some of the latest developments. So as you can see here on the CachyOS wiki, you can see that Proton CachyOS is based on Proton's bleeding edge, meaning the most recent branch, and it applies some modifications on top of it. So this is really helpful, for example, when you want to have some fix for a game that might not be working. In addition to that, NT-Sync is enabled by default in Proton CachyOS. Now you might be wondering what NT-Sync is. Well, essentially it's just a Linux kernel driver that allows support for Windows synchronization. Basically all this means, it makes your game run faster. That's all you really need to know, and it improves the performance. So this comes in by default. Now before NT-Sync, there were other implementations like eSync and fSync which still are used, but NT-Sync does show a considerable gain. In addition, ProtonDB allows you to look at the different games that run under Proton and see how well they run. So if I click on the Explore tab and I click on Anti-Cheat, I can see all the games that use anti-cheat but also run under Linux. and these games are classified under different classifications. So for example, gold means good, silver, bronze, you get the idea. Native means it runs on Linux without the use of a compatibility layer. So there will be some games that run well, like gold, and there might be other games that don't run as well. So if I click on Z1 Battle Royale, we can see that some users are saying that it doesn't work. So it's based on user submissions. In addition, you can log in over here, and if you go back to Explore and you hit Library, you should be able to see all the games that actually run in your library. However, there is one caveat. Most online competitive games don't work, for example Fortnite, so you'll have to keep that in mind when you want to switch to Linux. However, let's get on with downloading Proton Up Qt. So I'm using the Flatpak version here. All you need to do is go to flathub.org and write this, Proton Up-Qt. You want to hit install, so you just copy this over here and paste it in your terminal. Alternatively, if you are using CashOS, you can simply put this command in and it should download Proton Up. So let's take a look at Proton Up. Proton Up allows you to download different versions of Proton. Now I have the Flatpak version of Steam installed here, for example, and this shows that I have Proton CashOS 11.0 downloaded already. Now as this video is focusing on Heroic games, I'll click on that one. So I'm using the Flatpak version of Heroic, so I just select this one. And what you can do is you can hit add version over here, and this will bring up a menu. Essentially, you'll be able to choose or select any version of Proton that you want. So for example, I like to use Proton CashOS, so I'm going to click on this one. Now as you can see here, it provides you with a number of different versions. Now this might be confusing, however it's really not. The most updated ones are at the top, as you can see here. So I typically go with V3. Now my CPU works with this V3, so I should click it here. Now if you do have a modern CPU, you should be able to choose V3. As you can see here, your CPU needs to support AVX2 and up. So do a quick Google search and you should be able to find it. If not, you can just select the default one over here. And once you've done that, all you want to do is hit install. Once it's installed, we'll be able to see it over here. Then you want to head over to Heroic Games Launcher. Once you're in Heroic, if you click on the setting icon for any game of your choice, if you go to Wine, you should be able to see the new version here. So you just need to click it and then choose the version of Proton that you want to use. So I'm using another version that I downloaded previously, so I'll just click on that one and you're done. Now Heroic will use this version of Proton when you launch the game. However, you don't need to do this on a game by game basis. You can simply set it as a default. So if I go into settings and then into game defaults, I can choose the version of Proton that I would like to use. Now, as it says here, it only applies for new games. So for example, if you've already installed the game, it's not going to choose this version of Proton, so you will need to change it. But that's essentially it. Proton Up Qt makes it extremely simple to download different versions of Proton. And if I wanted to download it into the Steam Flatpak, I simply do that. I hit add version, choose the version of Proton I want, and hit install. Then when I go into Steam, I just need to do exactly the same thing and choose the version of Proton. That's simple.